Good morning, everyone. You have arrived at the Awakened Mother podcast, weekly dialogues, weekly uncensored, unfiltered, raw, honest dialogues with leaders, spiritual teachers, experts, moms, those whose hearts are committed to the upliftment and the empowerment of moms and kids, the human family on the planet. I'm Reverend Wendy Silvers. I'm your host, and I'm so glad that you are with us today. This morning, it gives me such great joy to introduce my guest, Judy Julin. She's somebody that I have known for 10 years. We met through the Agape International Spiritual Center. She is brilliant. She's innovative. She's so heart-centered. I've had the supreme honor of speaking at her events, and she has been at my events. It's just been a sincere, genuine friendship and colleagueship, and I admire her very much. I want to share with you a little bit about Judy's background. Judy Julin has 30 plus years experience in business as an entrepreneur and educationalist, children's life skill learning facilitator, special needs advisor, online parent teacher coach, and content provider for children, youth, and teens. Publisher of digital and print parenting magazines, producer of Rethinking Education online summit, and live learning events for companies and their families across the globe. Judy is a published author, a respected keynote speaker, panel moderator, personal development coach trainer, and business marketing and branding consultant. She's been featured in 2 movies, the Wall Street Journal, the London Times, and on CBS for her innovative programming family initiatives for youth and families. She was thrilled to share the stage in New York City and Los Angeles with best-selling author Deepak Chopra and the movie screen with Olivia Newton-John. She currently heads an educational nonprofit, WOW, Learning Lab, producing an online learning resource for parents and their children called Cosmic Kids World, and works in marketing for Children's Health Defense California chapter. On the weekends, as a Santa Monica, California resident, Judy enjoys golfing, cooking, performing improv and magic, and leading collaborative initiatives and low-tide beach walks. She's amazing. She is a Renaissance woman, and she is so dear to my heart. And so, Judy, welcome.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Wendy. It's so nice to share this platform, your podcast with you, knowing you as I do and having worked alongside you. And now our reunion through Children's Health Defense California chapter. And that's what you're all about, is defense of health, medical, psychological, spiritual, heart health. And I thank you for the work you're doing in the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to link arms and to be walking in this, along this path of freedom and choice and empowerment. I mean, I remember many years ago hearing Reverend Michael, and I'm talking about Michael Bernard Beckwith, who is the spiritual director and founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center. But he said choice is a function of heightened awareness. So I had never heard it put exactly that way. And it made so much sense. It was like all the cosmic tumblers coming into place, because if one isn't given choice and they don't have this awareness of options, that's not freedom.
Correct. That is not freedom. And to live a liberated life is to have awakened awareness and to know that we always have choice. We always have choice. We always have our truth and our voice. And if we continually model this in our world, in our homes, our children will be, that's the best educational experience our children can have. That is awakened parents modeling conscious choices in the home for the children to see. And being aware of, emotions and how their information and energy, and to walk through them, and to go into your emotional state, whatever it is, and explore it.
Yes, yes, that is freedom and liberation. The opportunity to have emotional intelligence, to have emotional literacy, to understand the development of the brain, and how the parent and or caregiver is the architect of the brain when a baby is earthside, and how the environment of the mother, when a fetus is developing in the womb, the environment of the mother impacts a child that lasts a lifetime.
Yes,
So
as Bruce Lipton and his study of epigenetics show us,
yes,
that the baby is impacted by thoughts and feelings and sounds and the emotional state and well-being of the mother
mhm.
before they're even born. I love when you say earthside. That's awesome.
Yes, yes. Well, I believe it's a sacred contract. I believe we're all here by sacred contract. And sometimes it's hard to believe. And that we all have a curriculum on our souls. And certainly you and I have been very called to the path of parent-child empowerment and education. And I I once heard that education is about drawing forth the innate intelligence within children. And you have such a plethora of information and experience and wisdom. I remember when you went to, was it Vermont? And
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, and you lived at a very specialized school. Will you speak a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. I was, in fact, just this morning, I had breakfast at Creation Cafe on Montana, one of my favorites. And a friend who I hadn't seen in probably 20 years, almost 20, maybe 17 or 18. And her son went to the Hunter School, which is a residential school deep in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, Rumney, New Hampshire. And children ages kindergarten through 8th grade, with extreme behavioral challenges, highly sensitive youth. And they live there. Their parents can come to visit them on special parent days. So I lived just down the mountain from the school, and it was one of their worst winters. So here's a California girl now, and I was, shoveling snow and ice off my car, but it was one of the most incredible experiences. I helped them develop what was later termed an energetic mindfulness curriculum. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying about the impact that we have as beings of frequency. We all are made up of energy and frequency, and there's certain levels of frequency. The children, whether they're in the womb or in the school, or they feel this. They feel it much more than your words or even your actions. So what we spent time doing at the school was to invite parents and their teachers and their house parents, where they lived while they were at Hunter School, to really tend to your own garden and to take care of your own inner self, because the children feel that. They feel if there's wounds there, and sometimes they'll act out because they're triggering your buttons to help you look at what's really going on in your life. So really, I believe, and this is kind of a spiritual contractual thing as well, the children, especially the highly sensitive ones, and any child really, or we could say people in our life, are there to help us work through our growth, our evolvement. And when they push our buttons, especially those that we deem could be maybe not our friends or not our loved ones or out to do us harm, those are the opportunities for us to really grow. So the kids feel this, and it was an incredible experience. And I came away and I just saw one of the moms this morning, and I hadn't seen her since I was at a Hunter School. I think it was 2013, or I was there. So it was an incredible experience, and I was there for a whole year.
Amazing. I'm sure there were so many nuggets and opportunities, and I think about the pearl, the sand, because kids will keep it real. They are not, especially children that are very highly sensitive, and they're not thinking about whether what they say hurts your feelings. They're not thinking about who you are, where you come from, what you have. It's just moment by moment, and it's very humbling.
Yes, it is. And that's our conversation that we're having on the surface, you and I. And I even go like deeper into that. It's like, what if this child chose this parent to help them work through the parents' things? So then who becomes the parent? Who becomes the teacher? Inviting parents to reposition who the children are. Perhaps they're our teachers. Perhaps they're our parents. So then you talk about reparenting yourself and how important that is to parent yourself and take care of yourself. That inner child that perhaps was wounded, and you continue that, even if it's a subconscious or unconscious. That's what the kids feel, especially the highly sensitive ones.
Oh, yes, and yes. I often have said, I mean, from the very beginning, even myself as a mom, that I am merely, I say, the steward or the guardian. I'm the guardian of this child's body, mind, and spirit. I don't own them. And they are my teacher, because exactly what you're talking about. I mean, they will bring us to our knees and really push us. And that's why it's so important so many times to not judge by appearance, because we don't know the soul's journey. We don't know the soul's lessons. So we're operating on this spiritual and practical level of being in the world and being with children, and then remembering that each of us and all of us have different roles and there's different opportunities. So in keeping with that, I know that you created Cosmic Kids first and then WOW. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, actually, if we go back to the late 80s, I created an enrichment center called Kids at Heart. And it was fitness, nutrition, manners, and self-esteem. Now, this was in the 80s.
Wow.
People said, what do you mean nutrition and self-esteem? I had this little vending machine that I fashioned out of an old vending machine that I had painted, and it was called a scrumption machine. And there were yibbly bits and licious snips, and they put a quarter in, and out would pop yogurt covered raisins or whatever it was. And we would have cooking classes. We'd have about manners, which was really just about being nice to one another. I had lots of requests for franchises. So I was ready to duplicate it because I love the franchise model. And then my mother died suddenly. I met my future husband. And so I put everything on hold for a little bit, but I kept all the curriculum way back when. We had Sweet Harmony, who was a hippo that was the exercise queen, and Properly Taught was a frog that taught manners, and Good Stuff the bear was a chef. And so I had an animation ideas, and it was really fun and wonderful, but it showed me back then there was something that I wanted to do. And fortunately or unfortunately, I've been a little bit ahead of my time. So it's hard sometimes to be patient. And now, I went from Kids at Heart to coming here in 2003. I was doing some marketing at the Chopra Center, and I heard that they were looking to develop a children's program. And I was like, I can do that. I did it back in the 80s. I'll just infuse some of the spiritual leaders at the time's thoughts and ideas. And thus Cosmic Kids was born. I funded it, so it was my concept. And then I grew it beyond the Chopra Center, and I went to Hollywood and raised a bunch of money and launched an enrichment pop-up for 6 months at the Hollywood Highland Center, right above American Idol finals. And interesting that it started in Hollywood, which is, I have a whole new regard of Hollywood these days. And but I, certainly didn't know anything then, and probably don't know a lot now, but I know enough to know. And that then we opened another location in Tarzana, had a bunch of franchise requests. And then 2008 came, and the recession. And at that point, parents said, we don't have a lot of disposable income. We're going to spend our money on education and not enrichment. And that was really what we were. I think our enriching qualities of Cosmic Kids and what goes on there, life skills, compassion, kindness, creativity, open-mindedness, critical thinking, intuition, those are like essential life skills. But at the time, parents weren't up for it. So we closed the location. We launched Inspired Parenting magazine in print, had Mickey Willis and his wife on the cover. And it was just a wonderful time. So we said, okay, we're going to get this information out to parents. They were closing the location. Then we went online with it. And so then I traveled the world for a number of years, learning educational practices from around the world, and took kind of a little bit of that Waldorf, Montessori, Te Wariki from New Zealand, India, and fashioned it into another kind of curriculum. That's another thing we learned at the Hunter School was it's important to be knowledgeable of what the child wants and what the child likes. There was a child there that was practically nonverbal, but he loved doorknobs. And that's anytime he would talk about doorknobs, he was off the charts happy. So we developed a whole curriculum around doorknobs. So you can learn science, you can learn math. So that's kind of the basis of what went on at the Hunter School, traveling the world and learning educational practices. And we've interwoven them into now an educational nonprofit that we formed called WOW Learning Lab. WOW stands for World of Wonder. So wow, something that's astonishing and awe-inspiring. And that's what we believe we can head towards if we equip our children with everything that they need to bring forth that which is already in them. And that includes what you said earlier, which is a really great point to just circle back around with, and that is non-judgment. So we don't always know what's going on in that soul's path. We can set boundaries and limitations as a parent or a teacher, yet we really want to, it's a fine line we walk, don't you think, Wendy? It's like in between non-judgment, in between real world, things have to get done, parental boundaries, consistency. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, I want to acknowledge you for being such a visionary and for creating, for catching, not only catching, receiving, but following what spirit was guiding you to do. So I really want to acknowledge you for doing that.
Thank
and
you.
I also understand the challenges with catching things before time, and really navigating that in between stage. And then in terms of balancing, it's a great question. My daughter, when I was looking for an educational space and place for my daughter, I visited a number of different places. I love the Waldorf rhythms. And I also really appreciated, there's a school in Los Angeles that we settled on called Play Mountain Place.
You took me there.
Yes, because when we walked in, what I saw was so funny. I went first without my husband, and I went in and I saw kids in the dirt, and I saw them, t-shirts, like they were dressed however they wanted, and they were playing and they were happy. And then I would hear, I heard like a little 2.5, 3-year-old, teacher problem, and then they would say, oh, this doesn't work for me. And I thought, wow, how empowering and how incredible that a little person knows what works for them. And so the curriculum was based on social and emotional development. It was based on humanistic education. It was based on inclusivity and the ability to really engender critical thinking. So it really at times bumped up against any traditional idea of roles: parent, child, teacher, child, and the real world and a child's world. I really appreciate keeping a child in that innocent place, in that dreamlike space for as long as is possible, to allow for the developmental stage to come online when a child can somewhat delineate between fantasy and quote unquote reality. So one of the things that I worked with in terms of with my daughter, and what I teach in my parenting work, is the idea of limits, the idea of this natural consequence, because so many times an adult is adultifying a child and projecting onto that child their experience of an adult world. I believe that when you meet a child's needs at the very, core of what they need from the time they're in utero and, throughout the time they're earthside, when you meet their needs, they grow up feeling very confident. They feel confident in their bodies. they really, that whole idea of critical thinking is that life skill that you mentioned, intuition, knowing how you feel when you meet somebody, knowing that you are the boss of your body and that no means no. I have a stop word. What's your stop word? Don't touch. That's my stop word. You know, when you allow a child to have agency over themselves, they grow up feeling like I can handle life. And so it's a transition into the life that the adults have created for the children. And they do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that agency. That's such a key word that, and again, it goes back to modeling. So when we handle ourselves in terms of the ups and downs and the vagaries of life, to be our very best self, that's the greatest school in the world. And it's 24/7. So I like to think of, taking the four walls off of the one-room schoolhouse, although I love one-room schoolhouse concepts of age mixing, is school's everywhere. It's all the time. And so that's school. And so what we're excited about doing is because of the state of the world currently, and sometimes we don't have full schooling and sometimes we're at home, I wanted to find a way that we could bridge the gap between in-person and online in a way that was nurturing and supportive of the family life. And so I call it high tech, high touch. So it's the best of technology because we're going to even increase what we're doing with technology. And it's the best of high touch, which is kind-hearted, compassion, life purpose, and as early as possible, align that child with what their special gifts, superpowers, special aim is in life, and build that, co-create the curriculum for them, co-create it with them, whatever their age. And I know that as parents, we're busy. So what we're liking to do now is to give parents resources. And homeschooling doesn't have to be a solitary endeavor. It can be community-wide. And that's why I like bringing in the community. I also like bringing in businesses, because what's the workforce? What do you need in your workforce? Resiliency, out-of-the-box thinking, collaborative mindset, integrity. And these are the principles that we interweave into a child-directed curriculum so that then they can be the future workforce, our future leaders. And so we work together with the community members, the business people, the educators, the parents. So homeschooling becomes a community endeavor collaboratively.
I love your ideas. I love that. Imagine if kids were really raised in an environment where they were encouraged to pursue the crafts and the skills and the subjects that really fascinated them. And we had kids, I mean, truly, I think if we allowed that, we would have adults that are kind to one another. We would have a whole different industry. So I know we're going to weave back and forth. And I'm really aware that you have a very, very special offering with a launch on April 30th. Will you speak about that? Because it's very exciting and I'm honored to be a participant with my organization. So I would love to hear more about what that is and how people can connect with you.
Well, by the way, we love Million Mamas Movement, and it's your organization that says it all. It's a movement. It's worldwide, and it's the mama in all of us. We've all been mothered, and I have the great opportunity to be mother to many, 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 many children, and in my midst, as I've done my entire working life. So through Wow Learning Lab, and that's wowlearninglab.com, we have created a transmedia experience, meaning that it's online, in the home, and in nature. So here's activities for 21 days that children and parents embark upon together. So there's not many opportunities for an online learning game adventure that parents and kids can do together. and it's about life skill learning. It's magical and whimsical. There's beautiful music. It's for 21 days, and each activity can be either 5 minutes or 30 minutes. It doesn't take long. Sometimes you need some supplies. So if you see an activity that you're going to do this day, then you'll maybe go out and get some art supplies or some scarves, or there's 9 different stations of discovery. You're familiar with Cosmic Kids because you saw it at the Green Festival, and of course Agape, we were doing it for many years. So we've taken that real life experience that I launched in Hollywood, and we put it into an online adventure quest. And parents and kids go in together each day. They'll either share a headset, like that, and they'll sit in front of their computer or their iPad. And this magical, they have their own avatar. So they go into the world and they name their avatar, and they can, have little emojis, and they can have a heart, and they can sit down and do a yoga pose. It's so cute. And when it's based on proximity, it's called Topia is the platform. And when you see another avatar in the world, another parent and child, your video will pop up, and you can talk to each other. And as you're going along the path that's kind of made with crystals, there's a crystal palace, there's dragons and fairies and cats and castles, and you can go, and there's a tree house, and you can go in there and you click on things, and there's activities for you to do each day. Or there's the Shimmy Tribe, which is the Shimmy Tribe are mushroom people, and they live in Cosmic Kids World, and you can meet them all. And when you click on them, their essence is compassion or fun or gratitude or forgiveness. And they have little stories and activities that the parents and children can do together. So there's like a checklist as you go through the 21 days. And when you complete them all, there's also a scavenger hunt, and you'll learn how to navigate the world. It's really fun, and only takes, between 5 and 30 minutes a day. And it'll be an opportunity to connect creatively with your child, because parents are busy. They don't oftentimes think of, great ways to maybe connect, and then they go out into nature. So there'll be activities. Okay, go out for a walk and pick up 5 things, and come back and do a story about them. It's improv. It's creative expression. It's really fun. So it launches this Saturday at 11 o'clock Pacific time, where in the world we have live performers. I think we have a juggler, we have a singer and storyteller. And so you'll go through, it's an hour long, this live event in the world. And then for the next 21 days, you go in on your own, you have free access. It's totally free, totally fun. And it was a real joy to put together with everyone.
That sounds wonderful. I love how interactive. I remember one of the things that I learned and that I practiced with our daughter was that you have an activity, because connection matters more than anything. Just parenting, I believe in teaching, is something you do with the child, not to the child, right? That's how you, and so this 21-day experience is a built-in opportunity for parents to set time aside each day to give their child undivided attention and connect with them.
And have fun. It's fun.
And have fun. Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really great. So thank you for having me share it, because I think it's going to be a fun opportunity. And it really makes you think, what is real learning? And what is really play and having fun? And when you kind of bring those 2 things at their intersection, their nexus point, you'll find that learning through play, playing to learn, and that creative, honest, authentic connection between parent and child that's really what learning's all about. So learning about ourselves.
Yes. Brilliantly said. There is I believe he's a psychologist who said that play is I can't remember his name in the moment, but he said that play is such a wonderful opportunity for kids to learn how to work out a lot of things. And they do. There's that getting along with somebody, there's soothing yourself, there's allowing yourself to excel, there's feeling all these different feelings, but being able to do this with your parent, I think it's a wonderful bonding experience in a world where there's a lot of uncertainty. And I'm holding, I see this little this little mushroom character with a guitar.
That's one of the Shimmy tribe.
So cute, very cute, very
Yeah,
cute. And I'm sure it's beautiful.
it is
Knowing
beautiful. It's
your commitment
absolutely
to
beautiful.
excellence.
It's,
That's
we
wonderful.
have a designer, Kato Avadano, who is not only the creative director of this project, but she's also the project manager. So she's handled everything. And I know we're going to be doing more. We want to have one, a Spanish version next, and then also a Christian version, because we think that, that's a wonderful opportunity to have a bridge between the principles of Judeo-Christianity and then the principles of universal spirituality, and make it available to the Spanish-speaking community. So it's going to be fun. This is just our first one. We're learning a great deal from it. And so I hope everybody can join us on Saturday at 11 a.m. PST.
Well, I will make sure that there's information in the show notes.
Thank you.
About this, so that people can absolutely join in. I think it's such a wonderful.
And even if they hear it later or something, and it's after the launch, you can go to our website, wildlearninglab.com/cosmickids-world, and you can sign up for it and go in there anytime with your child. You don't have to be at the launch. And if they hear about it later. So it's going to be open for as long as you want to enjoy it for free.
Beautiful. So beautiful. I'm so happy that you're doing this, because I know there's a lot of turbulence in the outer world that we are living in. And I absolutely know that our kids are picking it up and they're impacted. And I know that there's a whole generation of kids that have been impacted by the lockdown and being forced to wear masks and being told a lot of different conflicting things about what's happening, and seeing their parents upset. And you spoke about modeling and children. I'm imagining, what age group is this for?
Ideally 5 to 11 and the parent. But quite honestly, you could be younger and older. It's a beautiful world. Design wise, it's incredibly, and I would encourage you, even, for you to just go in and take a look at it, because you can sign up for free and you can go anytime, but it's beautiful.
I will sign up. I really love the opportunity to employ imagination and creativity and connection, because those are life skills.
And adults don't often do it.
Nope. And so, we both heard a speaker who I heard her speak, and she talked about how so many people are in the thinking mind. I think that was her that talked about the thinking mind and the feeling mind. And so many times it's the feeling mind. And that's why I loved the school that we chose for our daughter, because she got to create it. Nobody told her that the sun had to be a certain color, or she had to color within the lines, or she couldn't create this, or she couldn't create that. And so, I have a child who's extremely creative, and it's across the board, going into the kitchen and baking and cooking or drawing or painting and singing and writing. And so a child who grows up with this opportunity, like this 21-day opportunity to connect with their parents, it really engenders the opportunity to just play, to explore, to experiment, to be curious.
Yes.
And just see what that's the life of a child. Curious, wonder, awe, no limits. That's why it's good to have a really healthy container. Just this fountain of love. It's really important to support that. So I appreciate that. And I know that you're also going to be screening a film at the Lighthouse Church in Santa Monica. Do you have the date?
We do have the date. It is May 10th. It's a Tuesday. And it starts at 6 o'clock. The Lighthouse Church, beautiful church in Santa Monica on 20th Street. And we're going to be screening the movie, Whose Children Are They?, which is a groundbreaking documentary on government overreach in the schools. What's really going on? It features teachers, administrators, students, parents, that really are asking the questions and receiving answers and taking a stand, having a voice, critically thinking. It's fascinating. So it's going to start at 6 o'clock. It's a two-hour movie. So we'll be 6 to 8 o'clock. I don't know that we'll have too much time afterwards for any discussion, but we encourage everybody to, if you can't come to the church, you can rent it yourself. I rented it myself because I wanted to see it. It's fascinating. It rents for $20, and we're really excited that the church is going to host it on that date. And it's of course sponsored by Children's Health Defense California chapter. So we're so excited to have it and have parents be there and kids. It's really for 13-year-olds and up because they go into quite a bit of what's really going on in the schools, and it's shocking. So
it is shocking. It is very shocking to learn. And Pastor Rob has been so generous in extending the Lighthouse Church to us.
Yes, and he's going to be one of the main consultants in our Judeo-Christian model of Cosmic Kids World. So
what a great choice.
Yeah, I think he'll be great. And he's excited about it, and he's open-minded enough. Mm-hmm. He's open-minded enough to see that there's an opportunity for us to collaborate in creative ways that might be out of the bounds of what he usually does within his parameters of his church that he leads so graciously. So yeah. I'm really proud to know him.
Me too. Yeah, it's great. It's so wonderful. What a gift to be able to give the children, because the kids, they thrive. They really thrive when we recognize them. And sometimes it's so interesting to me because I see how the kids have been indoctrinated with a certain mindset. And so sometimes when adults say something, when I'm walking the dog, and I do that, it's part of my mental health as well as the dog's needs. And so just seeing a little kid, like yesterday, these kids were roughhousing, and I just noticed, and I would just walk by, I'm like, hey guys, and they're like, oh, like an adult is saying hi to me. Or this morning I was walking in there was a mom with two boys, and I was just looking, and then the little boy was like, I was like, hey, morning. And it's just this, to acknowledge that there's a being there, to really, that's a joy for me, is to see kids and just to hear them. I often marvel at how parents have a very hard time with tweens and teens, and not to mention before they get there. And I love to listen to what they have to say. And my experience has been that the challenges that parents have with their kids usually stems, and this is not across the board, but it's usually stems from a parental impulse to control the child. And when a parent can just take their hands off that control, still have that container of healthy limits, and connect with the child, like this opportunity that you're offering allows a parent to connect with the child, to check in. Wow, what'd you think of that? What'd you think of that? Oh, did you like that? Oh, I loved that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Just that whole interaction, it just builds this huge reserve of well-being.
Love that. Builds a huge reserve of well-being. That's beautiful. Yeah. And isn't that really what it's all about?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Connection too. I love that. That was one of the reasons that we did it, because we wanted something that they could do together to connect, because usually they're separate online.
Yes, everybody's on a different device in the same room. Mm-hmm. One of I believe that I won't go too deep into this, but I will tap into one of the silver linings of the enforced lockdown was that families had to be together. Most of the time, it was a positive result. I know that there have been studies that shown that abuse increased and alcoholism and addictions increased. However, what I did see was many dads with their kids where typically they wouldn't be. And there were more families walking around when they were able to summon up enough courage to know that it's okay to go outside. There, to me, that was one of the silver linings. And I'm sure that there was a lot in terms of brain development and social emotional development that occurred for those parents that had newborns to toddlers because they were with them. They weren't entrusting them to a caregiver. They were there with their children day in and day out, for better or for worse, they were there. And that makes a huge difference in the life of a child.
Absolutely. And I think perhaps the parents got to see the role of the educator, whether they became the educator or what it's a huge role. And now what I really love, another, I don't think this is a silver lining. I think this is a result of, which I'm happy about, parents speaking up at school board meetings, parents speaking up against, things that are unconstitutional for their children, from mandate standpoint. And I don't think it happened as much. It didn't happen at all practically with this enforced lockdown and the situation. So that's something that people are speaking up, which is really good.
It is really great. And it's great modeling for a child to know that they can, just as we set limits and hold a really safe and strong container for them to press and know that we're there, we're not going anywhere, we're going to hold this limit. We may, okay, maybe we'll change our mind with this, but to really learn where they begin and somebody else ends, and to witness their parents speaking up. I've often joked about accidental activism. So I believe, and typically it's not only, but typically it's the mom, or historically it was the mom. But when you, whether a child comes to you through adoption or mentorship, or you birth a child, I believe there is an unspoken vow on your heart that goes something like, I will do everything within my power to ensure that my child, this child, is healthy and safe and well fed, celebrated, cared for. And so that impulse, that vow on the heart, has compelled so many more people, because they're home, because they're listening and reading information and saying something is awry, it is not lining up, it's like this, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Great. No, you cannot do this with my child. And
yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And the educator, to see all of a sudden the parents are the educators, and they're going, oh my God, I haven't ever valued
exactly
a teacher the way I'm valuing a teacher right now.
Yes, it's a mindset shift. It's a paradigm shift. And I intend that we're going to see some great advancements in the field of education and learning and parenting in the next, I'm going to say 3 to 5 years. Really fascinating. It's going to be, and it's going to be a more collaborative, community-based, whether it's parenting or education, and like-minded others coming together to speak their mind and their truth and love the children.
Yes. And minister to them, to really care for them and to help the parents navigate these times.
Yes.
So Judy, is there anything else you want to share with us before we part? Is there any other, I mean, you're so filled with wisdom and joy. You're one of the sweetest, loveliest, strong, creative women. I just so appreciate you.
Thank you. I would like to leave you and your viewership with this as advice to parents, teachers, live your best life. Live
Mhm.
your best life. And that's the best gift and educative practice you can give to the children in your midst. Live your best life. And out of that joy and happiness and elevated spirit, your child will be uplifted as well.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, everyone, for attending and supporting the Awakened Mother podcast. I will make sure that you have the links to participate in this wonderful 21-day exploration, and that you can connect with Judy and the work that she's doing, the great work that she's doing in the world. And as I close each podcast, I say, that you are powerful beyond measure, loved beyond description, and a force for good in the world. So go forth and spread your magic. We will see you next time. I'm Reverend Wendy Silvers, and peace and many blessings.